Hello, everyone. This is Angela here, and tonight I'm going to be talking about the narcissistic personality disorder. And tonight's topic is going to be about marriage relationships and the problem associated with marriage relationships. And this is kind of in response to Nola Girl 504, who did a video called What Women Want. And I really admire Nola Girl. She is a very well put together woman. I would consider Nola Girl and her husband to be traditionalists like myself. What is a traditionalist? A traditionalist is a person that has old fashioned values. We believe in marriage, commitment, traditional home values, and all that goes with it. And along with the problems associated with marriages in today's Western society, particular in the American culture, I would have to agree with Nola Girl where feminism is a problem. Um, the problem is not marriage itself per se. In my opinion, the problem is people not living up to the requirements of marriage. And the reason why that's happening is because of societal narcissism and feminism. Um, People today don't realize what marriage is about because there's this narcissistic culture that has unrealistic expectations of marriage and what it's about. And I just wanted to share my story to explain my thoughts of what it is. The one thing about Nola Girl, like she was saying, what men really want in a relationship. And she made some valid points in what she was saying, but the problem is that you can't have a specific formula and say that one formula applies to all and it's going to work out. That's not the way it works, okay? First of all, marriage is work. My grandparents got married during the Great Depression in 1929. They were married for 55 years, okay? Lived through the Great Depression, lived through World War II, stayed happily married, okay? Not by Hollywood standards where you see all the romantic movies and all this other stuff and different stories of Hollywood's version of what marriage is supposed to be, but in reality, that's not what it is. Um, Marriage is about working together. It's about having a deep-seated friendship and commitment with one another. But aside from all that, some people are not marriage material. Okay, and what I mean by that, by marriage material, means that you have to make a lot of sacrifices in a marriage in order to make it work. Now, I'm not saying that you have to lower your standards or that you have to live unhappily, but sometimes you got to humble yourself for the benefit of the marriage, the relationship, especially during these most difficult times when people need to cool it on their financial spending and different things like that, because the number one reason why marriages fail, according to what I read, is due to financial problems. Because if even if you have two incomes, and I've talked to a lot of men. Okay, I work in the legal profession as a paralegal, and I've heard really listen to men's complaints as well as women's complaints and what the problem is. Um, when two people don't know how to manage your money, okay, to the point where you're drowning in debt, that's going to cause strain on your relationship. Your marriage will fail. Not like 9 times out of 10, if you don't pull yourself together to curb your debt, your marriage will fail. No doubt about that. And if you do stay married, neither one of you are going to be happy because it adds on all the stress. So you need to ask yourself a question. Is buying these, whatever it is you're buying that's, causing you to get in debt, is it really worth it? Now, sometimes debt happens due to medical problems, and people get in debt because they got medical bills and stuff like that, and that's really sad. And I definitely understand that that is a problem, but that is not the norm, okay? That's not the norm of the reason why people have debt problems. Yeah, it does happen, but there's so many more people that have problems in their marriages because of debt. And in my last relationship, I was in a serious relationship with a guy that was a somatic narcissist. Now, if you're with a man who is a narcissist, you're not going to have a happy life. And for people that do not understand narcissism, they blame themselves. They wonder, what did I do wrong? How would I make this man happy or whatever? And nothing you could do will ever make a somatic narcissist happy, because no real woman will ever satisfy the fantasy one in their minds. These people get bored very easily. They don't want responsibility. They just want to have a good time, take everything for what it's worth, and then they take off. So you have to really assess the relationship, and if you're dealing with the personality disorder in a relationship, it's a lost cause. But for people that are in normal relationships, if you really want your relationship to work, you have to both beat to the same drum. And what I mean is, you have to be each other's strength during your most difficult times. And I'm going to tell you some tips that my grandmother told me, God rest her soul, about why her marriage was such a success. And I just wanted to pass this on to the public. First of all, she told me that during the Great Depression years, there was no welfare, there was no food stamps, people were lining up in soup kitchens. My grandfather was out of work for 4 years, and they had a baby, my uncle, who was pretty much an infant. He was born in 1930, and they were really strapped for money. So when my grandfather wasn't working, my grandmother stepped up to the plate, and she did odd jobs for people. She ironed clothes, she cleaned houses, she did whatever she had to do to keep her marriage together and to help her husband. The second thing that my grandmother never did was she never said anything disparaging about my grandfather to anyone, ever. Whenever they had a problem where he did something, like, let's say he got out of line or something and offended her, and they were out in public or whatever, she never demeaned him. She always waited until she got home, and then they battled out their problems in private. You don't do it in front of your children, and you definitely don't do it out in public. Show some class. The third thing that my grandmother always did was, my grandmother was a wife, okay? My grandmother cooked, my grandmother cleaned, my grandmother worked, my grandmother minded her business, my grandmother humbled herself, my grandmother managed her money, and my grandmother stressed that when she had $1, nobody knew it, and when she didn't have $1, nobody knew that either. My grandmother was very devoted to her family. She did not go around with a bunch of hens cackling, telling people all her business. She did not envy people that had more than what she had, and she was grateful for what she did have. Remember, envy is one of the most 7 deadly sins, and it really is true. Instead of looking at the person who has no shoes, look at the person that has no feet. That was what I was always told. when you have to humble yourself because you can't buy something that you really want because you got to pay your bills, that's what you got to do. If you're constantly swiping the credit card because you're thinking about me, 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 it's going to cause stress in your relationship and you're going to have problems. Another thing that I want to say about Nola Girl, she did say that, you know, it's important to keep your weight down or whatever. I kind of agree with that, but I kind of don't agree with it. Women have a tendency, our weight goes up and down. I gain weight, I lose weight, whatever. However, no matter what size that you are, keep yourself looking nice when you go out, okay? Dress nice, make sure your clothes are clean, neat, ironed, fix your hair, put on a little cosmetic, you know, keep yourself looking as best as you can. And don't go out of your house in your pajamas, going out places. Don't be wearing sweatpants everywhere, especially if you're going to a restaurant with your husband or whatever. Keep yourself looking nice. You can look nice at any size. You don't have to be a size 2 to keep yourself looking nice. Now, if you're overweight to the point where it's a health problem, then yes, you need to start trying to get yourself together, lose weight, but still try to look nice. There's a YouTuber, her name is Weight Watcher Girl, and she struggles with her weight. You know, she does a whole YouTube channel. But one thing I could say about this lady always looks beautiful. No matter what weight she is, that girl looks beautiful. If anybody wants to check out her channel, it's Weight Watcher Girl 1. And her name is Tracy. I have great admiration for that lady. She's an inspiration to all of us because she really tries and she struggles and she looks gorgeous. Men need to also do their responsibility. If you're not making your family a priority, if you're sitting at the corner bar buying everybody drinks, your kids don't have shoes, your kids don't have clothes, you're out hooping and hollering with the guys and ignoring your woman, that could be a reason why your woman is gaining weight. Okay? You're not making your lady a priority in your life. Make her feel special. Make her feel loved. Make her feel wanted and appreciated, especially if she's cooking, cleaning, working, and being a sense of support and strength to the marriage. If you're not doing your part, okay, you can't blame her for that. It's a two-way street here. It's not a one-way thing where, you know, one person does everything and the other person does nothing. And I want to tell you all, I want to share something with you all. Okay, my last relationship, when I was living with a guy, I did a whole series on my channel, Somatic Narcissist. I want to tell you, I was home all the time. I cooked for him. I washed clothes. I worked. And we were living together, and I was, you know, living with him in the hopes that to see if he lived up to the requirements and standards of living my lifestyle as a traditionalist. And I saw that this man was not somebody that I wanted to spend my life with. And I had told him flat out, I said, this relationship is stagnant. I said, your credit is bad. You do not want to pay bills. You rob people by not paying them. You want to go out and hoop and holler. You're never home, okay? I don't see a future here. I had told him that. I'm like, you are not somebody that I would consider marrying, okay? I have standards and requirements for a relationship with regard, and, you know, I'm old school. I'm old school. Now, I'm not knocking people that have other lifestyles and the way they want to live. You know, that's on you. If you want to just live together and you're happy with that, you never want to get married or you want to have a relationship like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, and that works for you guys, trust me, you have my blessing. God bless you. I have no problem with it. I'm old school. I was raised with a different culture. I was not raised with the American culture. I was raised with the Italian culture, not American. My mother did not raise me. My grandmother did. My grandmother was born in Naples, Italy. And we cook, okay? We cook. I don't, I like to go out to eat as a treat, maybe once a week, maybe once a month. Sometimes I'll order a pizza or whatever. But for the most part, I like to cook. It's a lot healthier, it's a lot cheaper, and it's a lot better. I also believe in family togetherness, eating meals together, spending time together. I understand that, men have their time where they need their man time. Like, men like to go fishing, okay? They like to be with their buddies on certain occasions, different things. And I totally encourage that. Just like women, we like to go get our hair done, the nail salon, and maybe we like to talk about female things that we don't, because our bodies are different, and, we're just different, okay? That's who we are, I totally agree with that. And you know what? It makes your relationship that much stronger when you have that individual time as well as together time. I'm very happy and content with my life. And I've been up and down on this channel in my recovery from narcissistic abuse. And it's been a rough road about what happened. I shared my story. I'm part of the narcissism community. And, I went through a lot with my mother. And I've had a lot of opinions on reunion with narcissistic mother. That's a whole nother story. And, nobody knows my life better than I do. I'm not out here living my life as a victim. I'm out here as a champion, somebody who's been through a lot and is still a happy person, living her life and moving on. And that's basically what it's about. But for people that want to get married, young people, here's my advice to you. Number one, what are your standards? Okay? Do you live up to the requirements for marriage? That's number one. Number two, do you have the emotional maturity for those requirements for a marriage? Number three, do you know how to manage your money? What if there's a crisis in your marriage? Are you going to stand by that person, or are you just going to run as soon as the opportunity sets it? Now, I'm not saying that you should stay with somebody who's physically abusive or a drug addict or an alcoholic or somebody who's just too far gone. Okay, but even people in those situations, if you're married, it's your obligation to do everything to try to get help for people that you love. And then when you reach the part, well, it's too far gone, then you got to assess it and just move on. I'm a lot older now, and I'm a lot wiser. And, when I was young, I had a bad marriage. It's a whole nother story because I was too young and I wasn't even ready for that. At 17 years old, you're not ready to deal with life. Life is a discovery, and sometimes discovering mistakes, you discover things by making mistakes. And I think that most second marriages are more of a success than your first marriage because you learn what your mistakes were, especially if you get married really young. Also, for those who are wanting to get married, I am totally 100% in agreement to have prenuptial agreements Post-nuptial agreements to protect your assets so that you don't get victimized by a family court system. And that's basically a rough road. Okay, a lot of people don't want to do it, and that's fine. But for those who do, you better make sure you know what you're doing. So I would definitely talk to an attorney, get all this planned out before you make any serious life decisions. So that's all I'm going to say on the subject, because this video is getting long. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.